Can we truly know anything beyond what our senses show us? This isn't just an abstract question for philosophers. It strikes at the very heart of whether spiritual knowledge is possible at all. Tonight, let's examine the foundations of knowledge itself. When the word theosophy is spoken in scholarly circles, it's often met with a smile. Those who consider themselves scientifically educated tend to regard spiritual seekers as dreamers, fantastical people who have never grappled with the serious foundations of knowledge, amateurs who would abandon their beliefs if only they understood real philosophy. Rudolf Steiner took this challenge seriously. He didn't dismiss Western philosophy. He mastered it, and he found that when understood deeply and truly, Western philosophy doesn't lead away from spiritual knowledge. It leads directly toward it. To understand this, we must reckon with one philosopher above all others, Immanuel Kant. Kant's influence on modern thought cannot be overstated. Every school of philosophy since his time has had to orient itself toward him. Philosophers say that anyone who has not grappled with Kant has no right to speak on these matters. Kant believed he had accomplished something comparable to Copernicus. Copernicus removed the Earth from the center of the universe and placed the sun there instead. Kant performed a similar revolution in philosophy. He removed the external world from the center of knowledge and placed the human mind there instead. To understand theosophy's relationship to modern thought, we must understand what Kant did and why he did it. Kant grew up in a time when philosophy distinguished between two kinds of knowledge. The first kind comes from experience. We learn about lions by observing lions. We learn about stars by looking at the sky. This is empirical knowledge drawn from the senses. The second kind, according to the philosophy of Kant's youth, comes from pure reason. Questions about the soul, about free will, about God and immortality. These were thought to be answerable through reason alone, without needing to consult experience. This was called rational psychology, rational cosmology, rational theology. The highest questions answered by pure thought. Then Kant encountered the philosophy of David Hume, and everything changed. Hume made a devastating observation. We see the sun rise every morning. We have seen it thousands of times. Our ancestors saw it. We become accustomed to believing it will always rise. But what have we actually proven? Only that it has risen before, not that it must rise tomorrow. That is merely habit, expectation, not knowledge. Consider causation. We see the sun's heat fall on a stone. The stone becomes warm. We say the sun caused the warmth, but what did we actually perceive? We perceived the sun's heat. Then we perceived the warm stone. One fact followed another. The connection between them, the causation, we added ourselves. We never perceived it directly. Hume concluded that what we call knowledge is merely accumulated habit. We have no access to how things truly connect. We only see sequences and assume relationships. This shook Kant to his core. He said it awakened him from his dogmatic slumber. If Hume is right, there can be no certain knowledge at all. Everything becomes probability, habit, expectation that might be overturned tomorrow. But Kant noticed something. There is one domain where knowledge seems absolutely certain. Mathematics. The three angles of a triangle always sum to 180 degrees. This is not something we learned by measuring millions of triangles. We can prove it for one triangle, and we know it must be true for all triangles everywhere, on Earth, on Mars, anywhere triangles exist. 2 times 2 equals 4. This is not a habit, it is a necessity. So there is certain knowledge. The question is, how is it possible? Kant's answer changed philosophy forever. He distinguished between 2 kinds of judgments. A posteriori judgments come from experience. The sun rises in the morning. The stone is warm. These could always turn out otherwise. A priori judgments come before experience. They are certain because they arise from the very structure of the mind itself. Mathematics is a priori. We do not learn it from the world, we bring it to the world. The world must conform to mathematical law because our minds are structured to perceive it that way. Think of it like wearing colored glasses. If you wear blue glasses, everything appears blue. Not because the world is blue, but because your glasses shape what you can see. Kant said the human mind is like this. We have built-in categories, built-in structures, space, time, causation. These are not features of reality itself, they are features of how our minds organize experience. The implications are staggering. We never perceive things as they truly are. We only perceive them as they appear through the filter of our mental structure. Kant called the world as it truly is the thing in itself, and he declared it forever unknowable. All we have access to is appearance, the world as shaped by our minds. We spin our experience from within ourselves, constructing it according to laws we did not choose but cannot escape. The 19th century seemed to confirm this. Physiologists discovered that each sense organ responds in its own specific way. Strike the eye and you see light, not because light is there, but because that is how the eye responds to any stimulus. Color does not exist out in the world. It exists only as the eye's response to vibrations. Sound does not exist out there. It exists as the ear's response. Everything we experience is our own construction, a world of mental images, an illusion, in a sense, that we cannot see past. This view has a name, transcendental idealism. It says we can know the laws of our own mind. We can know how we must structure experience. But we can never know what lies behind experience. The thing in itself remains forever hidden. And here is where the challenge to spiritual knowledge becomes clear. If we cannot know things in themselves, how can we know higher worlds? How can we speak of spiritual realities that lie beyond the senses? The materialist philosopher will say, "You theosophists speak of astral planes and higher beings as if they were real. But you have not reckoned with Kant. You have not understood that all experience is merely mental construction. Your higher worlds are just more elaborate illusions." This is the objection that must be answered. Kant's philosophy spread through every domain of modern thought. It became the unquestioned foundation, and yet something was missed. Kant never truly examined how experience actually comes about. He assumed the process and drew conclusions from his assumptions. But what if the assumptions were flawed? What if the very distinction between the mind and the thing in itself is not what it appears to be? What if, when we look deeply enough into the nature of knowledge, we find that the barrier Kant erected is not as solid as it seems? This is the path Steiner invites us to walk. Not to reject Western philosophy, but to complete it. To take its questions seriously and follow them further than Kant himself was able to go. Is transcendental idealism really unshakable? Is the thing in itself truly unknowable? If the answer is yes, then spiritual knowledge is impossible. We are trapped forever in a world of our own mental construction with no access to deeper reality. But if the answer is no, if there is a way through the barrier, then everything changes. Then the higher experience that Theosophy speaks of becomes not a fantasy, but a genuine possibility, a doorway waiting to be opened. The path to that doorway runs through the very heart of the problem. We must understand how knowledge works. We must examine experience itself, not from the outside, but from within. We must discover what actually happens when we know something. Only then can we see whether Kant's limits are real, or whether they are shadows that dissolve when approached with clear sight. This examination is the task of epistemology, the study of knowledge itself, and it is the foundation upon which genuine spiritual science must be built. Rest now with these questions. Let them sink into the deeper parts of your mind, where understanding ripens slowly. The answers exist. The path through the barrier is real, and those who walk it find that knowledge extends far beyond what Kant imagined, far beyond the senses, far beyond mental construction, into the realm where the thing in itself reveals its true nature, and that nature is spirit. Subscribe for more Rudolf Steiner sleep lectures.